podcast is brought to you by Big Big One and their Blitz 2 TMR controller. With a 2000 Hz polling rate over both wired and wireless modes, the Blitz 2 is an incredibly fast and responsive controller that you can use with PC, Mac, Nintendo Switch and mobile. As well as fast speed, you'll find a comfortable and durable TMR analog sticks, mechanical face and shoulder buttons, micro switch triggers and a mechanical D-pad. Find out more by using the links in the description to see our full review. Now, back to the podcast. Hello, welcome to Podcast First Player, episode 309. I'm one of your hosts, Cal, and as always, I'm joined by a man who told me if Pac-Man owned a chocolate factory, he'd be called Willy Wonka, 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 Wonka. Best till last.
That's a great joke.
Danny Bloody Dan.
Hello.
Hello. It's nice and sunny again, and it's been a week. A whole week, Dan.
Yeah, I've not seen a single drop of rain. A bit overcast today, but
I've had some rain.
It's been quite lovely. Quite lovely.
Oh, today? Did you have thunderstorms last week?
We did not know.
I did.
Lucky boy.
No, not really. I had to go out in it because I've got builders round, not at this second in time, but got builders round, and because it was so sunny the last few days that they'd been, they left all the stuff outside, right. And then he just started chucking it down. So I'm just running up and down the garden, putting stuff in the shed, and then I got to the last thing, which is like a big concrete breaker, and it broke my fucking arm because I didn't think it was going to be that fucking heavy. And I went to run off, and
whatever
like,
it is going to be heavy.
Well, it was one of them because the box wasn't that big. I mean, it was pretty big box saying that, but yeah. So everything's all over the place. My current kitchen is upstairs on my landing. I've had to bought some trolleys and tables and stuff and just set stuff up. Yeah. So yeah, it's going fucking great, mate.
Well, give it a couple of weeks and you'll be living in the lap of luxury, aren't you?
Well, it'll be done, and then I need to buy a new kitchen. So it's however long that takes to.
Well, surely now's kind of the good time to do that, as you've ripped everything out.
No, because I want to leave it until after the new, when the extension's done, and then I can measure everything properly, rather than just going, I think this will work.
Well, welcome back to Building Chat.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, Dan, because I've only got one thing, and one thing only that I want to talk about. Technically two things, but we'll see what the time is. So I'm just going to say a random word,
well,
Dan,
let's talk about the second one first then and get that out of the way, shall we?
Grand Theft Auto. We had a new trailer.
Yes, we did. Trailer number 2, which I believe that they've just done to go, oh, look how great this looks, everyone. By the way, it's going to be released next year. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I did see a thing today, and it's just a clip. It's basically like a video meme, but it's Homelander in the corridor, like just trying to control and not just freak the fuck out. But it was like all the guys that got the partners pregnant so they could play GTA on their paternity leave.
That's some accurate spunking, if that's the case.
I'll be honest, like if I'd have thought ahead of time, and I don't want any more kids, but if I'd have thought ahead, that's the kind of thing I would have done.
Yeah, the real forward planning. People won't plan anything. But the GTA 6 release, yeah, they're ready for that. They're releasing all over the place.
But I don't know why. I'm not surprised. It's like when you're young, you're not angry. I'm just disappointed. Well, I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed.
I had someone send me something today, which was a Reddit post. I don't know if you've seen this floating around.
I've seen Reddit. Yes.
No. I mean this post specifically.
Probably not. No.
Okay, so obviously, as this is an anonymous source, you take anything that you read on Reddit with a pinch of salt. But apparently, this person is like, look, I work at Rockstar, and I've been a part of meetings, and I think it's only fair that people know what the situation is. Basically, the single player, all of the single player stuff is done, and it has been since the start of January this year. Like, everything's finished. It is literally ready to roll right now. The reason that they pushed it back is because they're trying to monetize the online as best they can. So They are literally figuring out how best to make money from the online as a long-term thing, rather than we're kind of ready to roll. So if you remember, Callum, in 2013 when GTA 5 dropped, GTA Online was this huge open world,
Yes.
playground that was pitched alongside it. And whilst Online did come out, I don't think it was immediate, if memory serves.
No, it was
but
quite
things
a bit
like
after.
Yeah, but things like Heists, they did not come out until it came out on PC.
Nope.
So that was years afterwards. And that people still to this day play a lot of GTA 5 online.
Oh, yeah.
So I absolutely get it. If that is true, and obviously, again, that is just a post on Reddit, there's no... People are questioning its authenticity anyway, as they rightly should do. Because that's anyone just saying, oh, well, I know what the deal is.
My uncle works at Nintendo.
Precisely. So if that is true, or if there's any element of that that's true, part of me is like, well, that sucks, but I get it. Like, they've made billions of GTA 5 online, let alone...
Why won't they just carry that on, though? Same model and everything.
Well, I guess that if this is supposed to be new, and to be clear, the gameplay trailer, or I say it's in-game trailer, shall we say, of GTA 6 story, God, Callum, it just looks like a movie. Like,
I was just about to say the exact same thing.
It looks incredible, right? But do I want to play that online as well? Ordinarily, for pretty much anything else, they'd be like, well, I don't really give a shit about that. I want the single player. I want the experience. I want it to just be me without people pissing me off. But this is something that with the success of GTA 5 online and how much we've even played it, and I've obviously played it a lot my own, I think they kind of do go hand in hand. And I think that rather than them saying, we can give you the single player now, but it's going to be another year for the online, and we're probably going to charge you for that separately anyway because of how big and popular that's going to be. If they said, it's 35 quid, which is significantly cheaper than whatever they're pitching it as at the moment, because it would be 75 out the gate, easy. It's 40 quid RRP, and that's just single player. The online will be an additional 40 quid, and that will be released next year when we've actually, people have just put the hours into this, they got it all ready, and, now there's hundreds of hours of content that we can do with the online. So do you want to get the whole lot, or do you just want this bit now? Because I imagine that the majority of people would want the online because they want their cool bikes and they want their cool cars and whatever. So if that is true, I get it. But as someone who's particularly only really interested for this one in particular, I'm only really interested in the single player. I would rather them just say, here's this part, and then you want the online stuff, we'll do that later, but we want to get it right. So you can pay for this up front now, and then you pay for that separately. Or we'll release it in a year's time, and it'll be 75 quid, and you get both. I'd rather take that bit now, frankly.
I don't think it... because it's not instant, so I don't get my words wrong for it, but one of the cool things about GTA 5 was your online character was the fourth character to select on your character select wheel. And even though it took a bit of time sometimes to just go from the single player to the online, the actual functionality side of that bit I thought was really clever. Mm-hmm. And you're effectively just quitting, going to the menu, going to multiplayer, letting it load in. Yeah. But it feels like it's more like your character exists in that same world that
you could bump into,
like
each
Trevor
other.
and that. Yeah. And I liked that. But if I've got to take one or the other, I'll take the single player every time on any game that's got a good story to it, at least. But I don't want to get into that where it just becomes like a normal thing where they charge you not quite full price, but most of the way there, and then charge you again for the multiplayer. I don't want to go down that fucking road with.
See, ordinarily, again, I completely agree. I don't think they should be packaged separately, but
no,
this is like its own industry. Is making Grand Theft Auto. It cost 300 million to make GTA 5. I don't even know how much it's going to cost or has cost to make this.
This is like, I think it's between 1 and 2 billion. It's like
I was going to say,
video game ever.
Yeah, it has to be, which only excites me for the level of detail and how much there's going to be to do there. But I also don't want that to be at the expense of a million people being turned over. Just going, right, you're doing a 90-hour week this week because we've got to get this eyebrow movement exactly right. and people are just getting burnt out, and they get, because obviously people that are coming straight out of university or college or whatever, and they get, they're very talented, and they get picked up by someone like Rockstar. They're like, oh my god, it's like I'm absolutely playing with the big boys, and then they're just like, right, I hope you're ready because you're going to get rinsed the fuck out on this.
Yeah.
So if that year was to be like, look, we don't want to put our pressure on our people, we want to take our time, I kind of appreciate that more than just we're just trying to get the money side of it right first, because they're going to make their money back on this, Callum. That I can guarantee you are.
Of course they will.
I just don't want that to be at the expense of the sanity of some, poor designers.
But would you believe a company like, especially knowing what's gone on in the gaming industry and movie industry over many, many years, would you believe them if they came out and said, we're going to delay it for a year because we don't want to work our staff to death?
I imagine there'd be a bunch of investors going, no, you're fucking not. You get that out the door immediately. Shark cards, microtransactions, let's fucking get it on.
It likely is the money factor of it. Like, how can we monetize the online even more than we already do? But I can see, not necessarily a company like Rockstar, but I can see companies going, we're doing it for the betterment of our staff. You guys should understand that you're all mostly working and whatnot, your parents work or whatever.
I know, but the general people are going to go, well, that's your job, so fucking do it. Like, if I have to, if I have to get rinsed out of my job in order to meet our quotas or whatever, then I do it. My escape from that is playing the game that you're now saying is going to be another year down the line. Blah, 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 blah. They're not going to see the bigger picture. They're only going to go, well, you make the product.
I want it now.
And you're not giving me that product. And now you're saying it's going to be another year. So, unless there's any truth to that, and then Rockstar have to then make an announcement to say, well, yes, that is true. The single player is ready to go. But, we are bigger picture stuff. We want to make GTA 7. And we need money to do that because it's cost us a fucking fortune to do this. Or they come out and go, we've heard these rumours and it's absolute nonsense.
Because they wouldn't have to explain to anyone, really. Like, companies big as Rockstar, they do what they want, but investors aren't going to be scared away very easily. So if they go, we're pushing this back a year, they'll go, no worries, because they know they're going to get the money. And it's awkward because you can't, this rando anonymous person on Reddit can't prove it. They can't go, yes, I do work there. This is who I am. Look me up.
Here's my
website.
Employment ID.
Yeah,
they're going to go, cool, leak, you're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. So it's a really stupid thing to do because you can't prove it either way. And it's either A, it's false, and you're just getting people pissed off for no reason, or it's true, but you can't prove it, and you just piss people off.
Well, again, proving it is that person saying, look, I've been in meetings. So let's say, plays devil's advocate here, this person is true, and they go, right, I'm really pissed off because we've worked so hard to meet this deadline, and then it's just been pushed back for no reason. As far as I'm concerned, it's the money, not anything else. And I want to be a bit of a whistleblower, but I want people to understand what it is what they're doing.
Yeah.
If you put something like that out there, and it's true, they will track you down. Because they go, right, okay, well, we've got someone who's given insider knowledge. Okay, so that limits the list of people who would know this. And then, scour their IPs, check their computers. Someone has leaked this. They've broken an NDA. That is a legal contract. Yeah. So we will try and find you, and then you're fired. Because, it's not because you're trying to throw us under the bus. Again, if that was, let's say that is absolutely true, and they released an announcement to say, we're not going to do them separately. We want to make sure that it works, but we want to make sure that all the money and time and resource and effort that we put into it pays off, obviously, as a business. But then we also want to secure another 1,000 more jobs to work on the online for the next 10 years. That's what we're trying to secure. And if that takes us another year to get to the point where we've got that security and people have got that job satisfaction, and then we can start working on Red Dead 3. Now we're doing another Max Payne. That's what this money's for. Yeah. People whinge about it, but I think the vast majority would go, fair enough. You are a business at the end of the day. And something like this, if it turns out to be true, I'd say that you just sort of be open about it rather than, you say, oh, it's not quite perfect yet. Because if it is already finished and you're just trying to figure out the best way to monetize it, that doesn't look good. if you've got a whistleblower that's saying that rather than you coming out and just saying
but
we want to secure the future of the company as well as a bunch of other projects that people get dead excited about.
you should know would have figured all this out along the way, though.
Yeah, maybe. Or it's equally likely that it's just absolute bullshit and it's just someone, like you say, making unprovable claims because Rockstar would never admit that, well, yeah, actually, that is true. Or they'd say, well, actually, no, that's nonsense. Because all you're going to do is just then people go, aha, you see, they're just trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
Like, you can't win. Yeah. So
I
thought it was just...
It's broken.
Yeah, I just thought it was just a really interesting kind of spanner in the works. Hopefully it's just someone who goes, no, I was just trying to get clicks or whatever, and it worked.
And what was it on Karma or whatever it is on Reddit? Reddit Karma.
Yeah, unless it pays your fucking mortgage, it ain't worth it.
I don't think it does.
Either way, though, that aside, the trailer looks
great. Looks real good.
It looks like... It
looks.
looks. Yeah, I just don't believe that this could ever live up to what it would hype to be.
What do you fancy yourself more of a Nico Bellic or your three from GTA 5, or even older? We're going back to like Tommy from Vice City or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your favourite?
I do want to say Trevor. Because he's the only one that feels honest.
Yeah, like, I can do that.
You know, Michael was, he's a bank robber, but he's got a family, but he kind of hates having a family, even though that's what he's supposed to do. Franklin, again, he was just playing the game to get out of the ghetto. Like Tommy was, again, kind of new arrival in town, trying to be the fucking big boy. Nico, same kind of thing. He's trying to just make moves. He's come from Eastern Europe to make his fortune and fuck everyone over at the same time. Whereas Trevor's just been an absolute fucking lunatic from day one. He's just always been a maniac.
Yeah.
And his story within that, I just feel is the most genuine representation of like an absolute fucking lunatic. And that's what people who don't know these games, they think that's what GTA is. That it's lunatics running around exploding things and bullying their friends and showing their balls. And that's what he is. He is what people think GTA is. That's who people really want to be. And then you play online,
I thought of it like that.
And you're absolutely right. That's exactly how everyone plays like they're Trevor. Everyone wants to get a big rocket that flies around and then explodes people. I've sat in a submarine just shooting cruise missiles at people because I'm bored. Do you know what I mean? Like that's everyone doesn't like that guy, but everyone that's their that's their fantasy. That's their outlet. Is that they want to commit carnage and blow things up and run over pedestrians or go into town or whatever. And he sort of incorporates what GTA is that outlet for. That it's unleash your inner psychopath in a way that
your inner Trevor.
Yeah, you kind of be able to look back on and just go, oh God, fucking hell, he's an awful person, isn't he? I'm glad I'm not him. But
I mean, that's the good.
Have a bad day at work.
People that don't take that bit away though, they just go, I am Trevor.
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen anything that's been attributed to like someone is obsessed with this guy. I'm sure there is.
There definitely will be, and I've seen things on the news for crimes that have happened, and the police have raided the house, and they've gone, Grand Theft Auto in his Xbox 360. So, it's irrelevant.
It's also one of the most popular games of all time. It's like saying, oh well, they had a sink, so everyone who's got this type of sink, they must be a lunatic. But yeah, I think probably that, and I think that with these two, they've already kind of, even just in this little trailer, they've kind of gone some way to establish that, okay, well, you can't just be Franklin, just coming out of the hood and then just jump in a plane and be able to fly it. Yeah. It's a bit wobbly, but you can fly a plane. Like, it looks like they go, right, okay, she's getting out of prison, she can clearly fight, so she's a criminal. He's flying a helicopter, so maybe he's got some sort of military training or something like that. Yeah. He's shredded as well, so potentially, again, criminal, was a cop, was a army guy, whatever.
Because I got that just from the first trailer. I thought he was going to be your Paul Walker type, like undercover cop. I didn't get that from the second trailer, but I got that kind of vibe from the first one.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be the best story-driven one.
Probably.
I mean, they get better with every iteration, but yeah, I think this is just going to be... I don't think this going to be like the greatest thing that's ever been made. Maybe not, but will it be the best GTA? I've already got a feeling that it probably will be.
I mean, they've all, even the DLC stuff like The Lost and the Damned and Ballad of Gay Tony, like they improved on bits of that, like the respective game that they came out with. And I think, because I still think 4 is probably one of my favourites. I like the mechanics. I like the new, more realistic approach to, like, obviously Saints Row started going down the crazy, ridiculous route. And I liked 4 a lot. 5 is a better game, but I do think I prefer the overall tone of GTA 4.
But I think the mechanic of like the heists as like missions. That was just 100%. Like, oh my god, you're just doing busy work, but it's building up to this huge, cool climax, where you're robbing a bank, and then it's like, oh my god, it's like helicopters and bikes and tanks and miniguns, and there's just so many cool moments in that. We're just like, fucking hell, if you just made a film about like this heist, it would be like 2 hours of just absolute mayhem, and it'd be amazing. Well, and then to do that like 6 times or whatever during that game, it's just online. And then I mean, like you need 3 mates for that who actually get.
It's also not as intricate as the single player missions, but
no, but it's still for an online thing. It's you're right. It is a fun option. Yeah. So is there going to be that sort of like heist planning kind of thing? I don't know. They seem more sort of like street like level robbing convenience store kind of guys rather than huge bank jobs with planes and stuff like that.
But it could be, instead of like heisting banks and stuff, maybe still banks, but instead of heisting like the big target things that you're doing in 5, it's gangs and stuff. Like there's a guy selling out, I don't know, stuff out the back of a car or out of a warehouse or whatever. You go in, rob all the money in a fashion. But I think it was too popular not to include it, and it's another thing you would take away from the online. And if they are, if it is true about monetizing it more heavily, you got to put more content in.
Yep.
Can't be taking it out.
Yep. And I think
Take it from me, Rockstar.
I would miss it if they said, well, it's a different game. It wasn't in the first ones. It's not all about this. It was an interesting thing that we did for 5, but we're not just going to keep on ringing the same bell. So instead of doing that, now, like you say, it's massive turf wars or something like that. Where you've got to infiltrate. And I don't know, but they just change up the sort of the big centerpieces of your kind of plot points throughout the game that center around heists or whatever to get more money, to do more cool shit, whatever. So instead of it being sort of like bank robberies and crazy stuff, maybe it is a bit more. It's a bit more personal rather than like blowing up banks and stealing shit.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm annoyed that I've got to wait another year, frankly. But
Franklin?
To be fair, mate, considering I still haven't bought God of War, I haven't bought Spider-Man, I'm still working my way through Tears of the Kingdom, which just seems an unbeatable game at this point because it's so fucking enormous. And the Switch 2 is coming out, which I probably won't get, but if they were saying here's a new Zelda at launch, I don't know.
Welcome to the dark side.
I know, yeah. So I think that even though it's a year to wait for that, I've still got plenty to tick off to carry me through. I'm not sat here with nothing to do. Do you know what I mean?
It's May.
Doom's out like next week, man. Fuck next me, week. That looks incredible.
I mean, you will have finished that before GTA comes out. I guarantee.
I fucking well hope so. I know I'm running out of time these days, but good lord, that one is just like everyone leave me alone for a week. I need to shoot some fucking guys in the face
and then play Doom. Speaking of shooting, though, Dan, we've got to move on to the big thing. Thunderbolts.
Yes, Thunderbolts.
The movie. We'll say, because I can't be bothered to jump in and out and muddy up what we're going to talk about, spoilers. So, just off the bat.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, it's only been out like a week or so, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So if you're watching this pretty much straight away, not from the get-go, but this is your 30-second warning to probably steer away from the rest of this.
We'll slip up.
Go watch it, or maybe watch some stuff on Disney Plus instead. Andor is just about to wrap up. Potentially, these are the last 3 episodes of Andor for season 2. Captain America: Brave New World still has not made an appearance.
Nope.
But I'm hoping that should be within the next month or so.
Why are you going to watch it again?
No, I'm just saying that there's, I think, 2 references to it in the Thunderbolts. So rather than being like an intricate web, instead now it's just like, it doesn't matter. References. Yeah, that's about it.
It seems more that they want to kind of brush it under the rug than.
I think they're just meandering at this point. But Thunderbolts seems like a reasonable step back on the right trail. So, first things first, Callum. How was you saw this on Saturday, didn't you?
Yes.
Right, so it's Wednesday today. I saw it last night, so it's fresh in my brain, which is why we've done it today, so I can at least remember what the fuck happened in most of it. But your cinema experience in general, going there, being there, how did that go?
Cinema experience wasn't too bad. I ummed and ahed. We'd already booked the tickets, but before we went to the cinema, I was regretting booking the tickets because I was very tight. Like, obviously, we were sorting all the house out, and I was driving here, there, and fucking everywhere. And I came home just to grab some stuff because I was dropping Logan off at his granddad's house. And it was one of them moments.
He didn't go with you, no?
Nah, it's too dark.
I was joking, obviously.
Yeah. I ummed and ahed because I was thinking, like, if it's like Brave New World, that's not too bad. It's got some
this was a
themes
12,
to it.
12A it was, yeah.
Yeah. But I was just like, nah. More so because I was just like, I just wanted a couple of hours without it. Like, okie dokie.
Did she fall asleep in the cinema?
No, she loved it. She sat and watched it all the way through. I think it's the first time in a long time, whether we watched a film at home or whether we've watched one at the cinema where she just stayed awake, which is pretty good. But yeah, cinema-wise, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't packed. There was more people in there than I thought there was. Like when we stood up to go at the end, there was way more people at the front than it appeared. But yeah, seats were nice and comfy.
See it in
recliner
IMAX?
Ones. No. Why didn't we go to the IMAX? No, we did. Yes, I did. What am I about? Yes, we did.
Okay.
It's all they've got at that Lux one. So,
oh, okay, right.
But we was in screen 5, which I've never been in. Every time I go, it's always 1 or 2. And the many times I've gone to that cinema, I was in 5. And it was annoying because it's way further away from the toilets.
It's the little things, isn't it?
But yeah, how was yours? Was it busy? Was it shouty? Loud?
No, there was so we just saw it in standard as well. So it was a quite a small screen. But there's probably 15 people, no more than that, I reckon. Sort of spaced out. Nothing. So yeah, basically nothing. And once the kind of the Marvel intro started, everybody shut up and stayed shut up. So as far as I'm concerned, gold star on the actual being there. Well done to everyone who was in attendance because you all shut up. Well done.
Not like Black Panther.
I still regret that. I was literally talking about that, and I was just like, "Oh, thank fucking hell, there's no one here." If I have to go into another cinema thing like Black Panther, I'm sure my mates are like, "You'd shut up about that." Like, I hated every second of being in there. The film was fine. I still really enjoyed the film, but I hated that the whole night. I was just like, "Shut up, fucking hell."
I've been lucky, I think, but I've been fairly lucky that when it's happened, it's been a film I don't want to see. So I took him to see Minions or
whatever.
Like something
else. I've got
yeah.
my own earpods in or whatever.
But even then, I still watch the film because I paid for it, so I'm fucking watching it. But we've been to some before where I think it could have been Star Wars, and somebody there was a couple, and they took their baby in. And the baby was like months old, not one, like a few months old. He was crying, needed feeding. It's like, hey, it's too loud for a little baby's ears.
It's in the dark. It's flashing lights. It's bangs and what are you doing? Also, more to the point, why did the staff not go? Sorry, no, you're not taking a baby in there.
Yeah, that's what Zoe said. Because I was, when you get just that close. You're just like, I need to go and say something, but if I do, I'm going to get arrested because it won't just be saying something. I'm going to absolutely twat him. And he obviously just wanted to watch. He wanted to watch the new Star Wars film. That's understandable. I wanted to watch Thunderbolts, but if I couldn't get a babysitter, I weren't going.
Yeah,
Simple as that. And I would never dream of taking a baby into the cinema for any film, whether it's a kids' film or an adult's. Doesn't matter. It's not the environment.
You're not
for it,
taking.
and it ruins
You're not
it
taking.
for all of them.
Yeah, exactly. You're not taking a baby in for the baby to watch it and enjoy it. You're taking it in because you want to go and watch it, which means that you're not going to be able to because you're going to try and be taking care of that, or you should be fucking trying to take care of that. They
ignored it for most of it.
Like if your babysitter cancels last minute, do you know what? You don't go out.
Exactly.
If you pre-book your tickets, fair enough, but you take the hit. A baby has no place being there, and especially someone who can't fucking stand children like me. I would have been straight out and just been like, "Can someone go in there and get that fucking baby out, please?" But I haven't paid to have someone's baby gurgling away or screaming or crying or whatever, and you're probably doing damage to it. So, do you want to step in and fucking sort something out?
But they should have done. They're as much in the wrong as the parents was. They should have gone, well, one of you can go in, but that's
you can take it in turns, half an hour shifts if you want. But one of you is standing out here, and one of you can go in and catch the other one up when you switch back over.
Not even
again.
that. There's another show in after, so you come and watch this one, and then you go watch the other one.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Because to be fair, with when I wanted to go and watch Logan, the Wolverine film, not my son, just. But we couldn't get babysitters, and Zoe was all like, well, we'll just go next week because like such and such is free. I was like, or I'll go at 7 and watch it, and then you go to the next showing and watch it. And she weren't up for that, so we went the following weekend. But I'd have done it. I wanted to watch it, but I wouldn't have taught Logan. No chance. Anyway, we've digressed far too much. Newest release, Thunderbolts, proved to hit the box office after taking around 162 million internationally at box office, which is pretty good, but not as high as your Endgames and your Infinity Wars, etc.
Sure.
Initial reviews saw Rotten Tomatoes score at 95% from critics. As of recording right now, that's dropped a little and is sat at 88% critics and 94% audience. Still pretty good. What do you think, though? The biggest critic of all.
I don't. No, I don't agree with those. Like 90. What was it? 93% or whatever.
The original, when the reviews first started rolling in, it was 95. Now it's at 88.
Yeah, 88 still feels a bit too on the high side. I'd say sort of like high 70s, low 80s would feel about right.
No chance. So you think it's worse than the Marvels?
No, I'm not saying that. Like. That's the law. I'm just saying that. Did it feel like it was a 95 out of 100 film for me? No, it doesn't.
Not a 95. No, I think it's for me. I would say between that 85 to 87, depending on my mood. For me personally. Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what I just said. Like high 80s.
No, but low
yeah,
90s.
Sorry.
I thought you said 70s. Sorry.
Did I?
Yeah, that's why I said you think it's worse than
Oh, right, yeah, no, sorry, that's not what I meant then. Sorry. Yeah, other end of that, sorry. So, like 88 still, or whatever it was, still feels a touch too high, but in terms of its enjoyment, yeah, I came out of that just like, that was actually quite good fun. You know, it was a bunch of people that they forced together better than they did the Suicide Squad, the first one. Yeah. Like they all sort of like had their own little TV appearances, brought together by one classic member, and I mean they kind of did quite a good job of pointing out anything that I really had a problem themselves. Just going, oh, what? So we all just punch and shoot people? It's like, well, yeah, kinda. That is. You don't have like you've got Ghost. Which is interesting, but then they don't do a huge amount of interesting stuff with her. When he was just like, can't you just like, disappear into the wall and then like go up the wall away? And she's like, no, that's not how it works. I was like, oh, well, I thought that was actually quite an interesting little plan if you should have just been able to do that.
Well, that's your Nightcrawler explanation, though, isn't it? When he's
I need to see where I'm going.
To see where I'm going, otherwise I get stuck in a wall or whatever. But there was, I think they did a very good job of, with the exception of, like even Yelena, with the exception of Red Guardian and Bucky, I didn't give a fuck about any of these people leading up to this film. After the fact, very different thoughts. But like, I remember us talking about the initial unveiling of this Thunderbolts team, and my biggest criticism was you've got Bucky, Red Guardian, US Agent. They're all super soldiers. They're all Captain America, and then you've got Yelena, who's just Black Widow, and then you've got, who else have we got? Who have missed? Taskmaster.
Ghost,
just anyone
Taskmaster.
She's fighting, and then Ghost. But I always have the impression that they'd sorted her powers out, but they didn't. They put them under control.
Yeah, no, that's what happened in Quantumania. That she wasn't just popping around randomly.
Exactly, yeah. And then if, like, I thought instead of having like a Red Hulk, they'd use Abomination because they'd bought him back for She-Hulk and.
True, but he's like reformed and that now, isn't he? So he's just a good guy.
Obviously, they didn't go down any of that route, so we got no kind of Hulks whatsoever. But coming out of this, it was even US Agent. I think they did a better job handling him as a character, and he's even. We won't touch on the post credits just yet, but even in the post credit scene, he's still fucking unlikable, but in a good way. Like he's a Disney villain. Like you like him, but you hate him. And
I think that I agree. I think I'm more interested in him now after this.
Yeah.
But only because you're starting to see how sort of resentful he is of his own success. Like, you know, he's just reading his own story about how everyone's just sort of like, "Ooh, you're not Steve Rogers."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm not," and he's not trying to be anymore now. And like, this kind of giving him room to stretch his legs and be a bit of a prick. But Bob, I think was. I enjoyed Bob. I didn't enjoy Sentry.
But I think that's the point, though.
But not in the sense of like, oh, he's a bit of a prick, isn't he? I was just sort of like, because like part of me is like, oh, you know, he's turning, like he's just, as soon as he comes down in the outfit, and I know we're jumping ahead, but he's in the outfit, and you know, he's sort of this like Homelander style, sort of like they've preened him up and, you know, marketed him, and then he comes down, and he's like, hey, I'm Bob. Oh, I'm better than Bob now. And they start on him, and none of them can do anything to him. Yeah. Like he's just swatting him away, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to kill him. You know, they're my mates, kind of." And then he gets zapped, and then he goes like pure black, and then that's when he starts like turning people to shadow, and like he's doing it in the city. And then I was just like, it was just as Red Guardian had taken like a hit off a huge piece of concrete and saved this little girl, and she goes and just turns into a shadow. And I was like, oh, I'm into this. Like this is getting good now. There's the stakes here, and then it's just like, oh no, they just sort of go into a sort of a weird dream room, and then they're not actually dead at all, which meant that there wasn't as big of a threat. Like he's not the greatest Avenger that's ever lived. So I don't know if that's just her trying to market this as like he's the most dangerous, he's the best, he's the whatever, and like you see him
definitely is.
But that's my point though. That's exactly my point. It doesn't feel like him. I don't think that works as him. But I had the same problem in Guardians 3 with Adam Warlock. Like this unbelievably
he was
powerful.
Massively underused though.
Yeah, like the first time you see him and he gets stabbed, and you're like, wait a minute, isn't this guy like again? You know, he's supposed to be this absolute god level, you know, unstoppable, untouchable thing. Thank Christ he's on our side level of guy.
Yeah.
And then this again, I like the fact that he's sort of like, it's, you know, he's fighting this like inner demon, and that is Sentry that he's fighting.
The Void.
Yeah, but then it's just sort of like, it always sort of comes back to, why did no one else step in? The entirety of New York went into a big black shame hole, and no one else had a crack. No one.
The directors actually said, because somebody, an interview had brought up, like, where's Daredevil and Spider-Man?
Oh, I mean, again, I'm not talking about people that don't stand a chance. But you know,
no. But obviously, in New York currently, you've got Spider-Man and Daredevil, and obviously with the popularity board again being on, I assume that's why he was referenced. But it was, I can't remember the actual phrasing of it, but it was basically, even we don't know what the time is. So those people, like that little girl that got put into the void, she might have been there for 12 seconds. Or it could have been 12 days. We don't. They didn't put a definitive timeline on it.
Oh, okay. So they're saying that wasn't real time.
Potentially, they didn't definitively say it. I think it was just a bat the reporter away kind of thing. However, something interesting for you, Dan. So, what if I told you this wasn't the original story for this film?
I'd be interested in hearing alternatives for sure.
Well, one of them was, instead of Sentry, it was John Walker. And it was basically Val telling him his the super soldier serum's wearing off. And they just keep fucking injecting him till he basically hulks out. And the Thunderbolts have got to fight John Walker in that sense. And then it went, it's basically Brave New World, this.
Yeah, someone's being forced into turning into a giant Hulk monster that someone else has then got to try and take out. Sure.
So it was basically Val pulling the strings to trick John into doing a bidding, and like they're not your mates. They're gonna backstab you, and you need to fucking backstab them first, and blah blah blah. Yeah. So then obviously they didn't go that road. I'm glad for that. But the director had said was their challenge that they enjoyed the most was having a character like Sentry, who none of the Thunderbolts can fight, not a single one of them, and probably none of the Avengers, really. So how do we beat this person without it being a fist fight? And for the most part, like my biggest problem with the Sentry bit, I think Bolson did an excellent job, and he could be like the new Anthony Starr when it comes to just the unnerviness. I don't think he's got the same kind of scary caliber as Anthony Starr has, but he did a very good job. But it goes from Bob being Bob, and he's like, I'm Bob, I don't wear shoes, and guns are loud and scary. It's like an hour later when he comes down the stairs with Val. There's no time that's passed. He hasn't been with her for a few days or a week, and she's just molded him into this new. It's done. Put your suit on. Everyone's happy, and I didn't like that because there's no. He should still be at that bit where they shouldn't have to convince him we're not your enemy. We've just saved your life. Yeah. We didn't have to, kind of thing. And
now, if they'd thrown him to the wolves or something, they were like, right, we need to get out of here. This is just some rando. So he sacrificed himself to save his now new mates because they helped him out.
And they thought he was dead.
And he got shot the fuck up. So there wasn't any reason for him to turn on them, except her just sort of like whispering in his ear. Now again, I maybe I would have liked to have seen her sort of like, because to be clear, I think that Valentina is probably my favourite part of this because it's been building through all of these TV shows where she's trying to recruit her own Avengers. She's like the anti-Fury almost, but she's got like manipulation rather than, strategy or military experience or whatever. And she wants this guy to back her up because literally, like you say, no one can stop him. And I reckon that she'd be trying to make a push for the presidency because then she would have like the ultimate bodyguard. Yeah. And like the way that she's twisted all of this, try to get everything wrapped up, and then when they're just like, haha, you're coming with us, and she's like, press conference, bang, got you.
No Avengers.
Like that, I was just like, oh, well fucking played. Because I thought that they just drag her back to that hearing. So the only thing that I don't like is probably the post-credit sequence. Not the one with the Wheaties box. Again, banging on about Wheaties. The second one, when they've got their new little uniforms.
Oh, it's full of fibre.
Yeah. To be fair, David Harbour was having...
He's fucking brilliant.
The time of his life making this, clearly. Like, I loved him in it. He's fucking brilliant. But, yeah, in the final post-credit sequence, it was like they've all got their little uniforms, that they're in the Avengers Tower, and they're new Avengers now.
The Watchtower.
Yeah, but I'm just sort of like, how has anybody allowed this to happen? They are all criminals.
Well, this kind of not looped around because I hadn't said it yet, but this is what I was going to bring up for a different bit. So Bucky's obviously congressman,
so he can't really take part because he's supposed to be a part of the government.
I think that's gone now though. Like I don't think it'll be happening again. I think it's a thing they tried and didn't pan out. But obviously we knew this from Captain America: Brave New World, and then it's definitive in this, and he's gone to the hearings and he's got his little badge and everything else. Bucky was a terrorist.
Yep. He was a murderer for about 70 years, a gun for hire. Well, not gun for hire. He was a brainwashed assassin, right? Yelena was an assassin. The only reason that people accepted Natasha was because she saved the world from an alien invasion, but she was still doing assassin-y stuff. And she was turned by S.H.I.E.L.D., I guess. So, that's why she sort of like got...
Well, she worked it off, didn't she? That's
like she was paying her debt off, basically, to, for all the shit that she's done. US agent, like they say in this, it was like, you openly murdered a dude. Like, you smashed his head open. Like, you're a terrible Captain America. You're not a role model for anything. Ghost was, again, an assassin just trying to steal shit for Bill Foster, wasn't she? Or, I can't remember exactly how
she worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Did she?
Yeah. It's mentioned in Thunderbolts as well.
No, she was working for Valentina. She was doing ops for her.
Yeah, I know, but that's where Valentina snatched her up from when S.H.I.E.L.D. went under.
Well,
it's not in anything. It's just referenced in this.
Right, because it was just like at the end of Quantumania, not Quantumania.
S.H.I.E.L.'s thrown away toy or something like that.
No, I thought that was Taskmaster.
No.
Either way, Taskmaster. And they're all not great people. And Red Guardian, he's Russian.
Yeah.
Like, he was a Russian symbol. You see him like on the, with the Soviet Union sort of like waving by. And everyone's like, yeah, this is the new team. And then again, I'm just sort of like, oh, this is very odd. But all of the post-credits is like, what? Who are these guys? What the fuck are these? The Avengers? And I'm just like, okay, well then that makes sense to me because they're going, this is a marketing thing now. It's not because they've done anything to prove themselves. Like you say, that whole Sentry thing, if that took, the space of 20 seconds or whatever in the dream world, and then it was like, zoop, and he's back to normal, then it's like, okay, well, who the fuck knows what they've just done? And, they haven't stopped publicly a huge invasion, which means that it must be some sort of like marketing manipulation campaign to say, these guys are incredible. Even though everyone with just 10 minutes Google will go, well, he's a murderer, she's a murderer. They've all just, not like, in the line of duty killed people. They have just outright murdered people.
But you can kind of land Bucky in the same boat as the likes of Natasha and stuff. Obviously, he helped beat Thanos and everything else, and but I didn't get it, and I think the line with Val is like, I didn't expect you to have a great career, but I thought you'd last longer than half a term. But I don't know whether that's because I
think it was because
or you're gonna die
because he was there. No, I think it's because like you being here, this is career suicide. Like your congressman days are over because you've blown up jeeps and you've busted into my office to try and arrest me or take me in or drag me to an impeachment trial or whatever, and that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So your political days are over, I think is what she was saying.
But this, the new Avengers, as they're called with a Z, is with Red Guardian. But the new Avengers are when they're coming up with the Sokovia Accords, it was, we don't want an Avengers that's controlled by the government and decide what missions we can and can't go to. That's what this Avengers. Yeah. This is a government-owned entity, whereas Sam's Avengers is the Avengers.
Yeah, and I think that that would be the thing. It would be those two coming again, Civil War style almost. They'd be coming to blows to say, "You're just lapdogs," and they're like, "No, we're just trying to keep order. We've got the backing and the funding, and we've got the law on our side.
We've got a century."
I know, but again, you introduce someone like that, and then he goes, "Oh, I don't feel like it," or I can't just turn it on and off.
But that's what they did in comics, though, wasn't it? Like they didn't do it. What they wanted to do, basically, there was going to be like different versions of different ages of Sentry. So from the 40s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and so on and so forth. But he basically makes everybody forget about him in order to never introduce the Void again. It was a really interesting. Like I was reading the thing the other day. With one of the co-creators of the character, and they had all these really cool ideas that they wanted to do, and they didn't do them ultimately. But that's effectively what they're doing with this, where they go, "We're just going to keep him in the Watchtower because we need to keep an eye on him, but we can't use him for anything." But I did like that though, when he's just like getting the jets ready, and he's just like, "We wouldn't need jets. We've got a Sentry." He's like, "Was you just going to ride Bob into space?" He's like, "Yes. Could you imagine Red Guardian?" I love David Harbour so much.
I know, he's really good.
But it's another one of those where they did. I mean, again, they did it for Infinity War and some of the other ones where you've got your Hulk, you've got your Captain Marvel and stuff. You can't just stick them in straight away because then it's done. Then, like a lot of the stuff could have been like with even in what's the cartoon? What If? When Thanos comes in and then Vision just slices him in half. I mean, it's Ultron Vision, but still a good scene. But it was just like done in seconds, and that's what it would be with Sentry. And I don't know if some of it's a little bit. What's the most powerful Marvel character we can put against the most underpowered team and still win, even though they don't? It's a hug. that's what wins the day.
Well,
which
maybe
is
that's
fine.
it. These are all guys that punch and shoot and kill everyone, and the way that they save the day is just by being nice. It's being a friend, and literally dragging someone off, beating their inner demon to death, and becoming absorbed by it because they've had a hard life. They've seen his hard life. He's not some bullshitter. And they go, if we can save you, then maybe it kind of makes up for some of the terrible stuff that we've done. But then also indirectly we save everyone else. But I also think cowards, you should have killed everybody. Like as soon as he was in awful mode, he should have just been zapping buildings away like they're nothing.
Well, they were saying that's why they took, again, spoilers, but that's why they killed Taskmaster so early. Was so.
Well, because she wasn't a friendly person. She was the only one with no redemption.
No. It was more of that. It's pretty close to the start of the film, and it's just like fucking any one of these can go at any moment.
That I didn't like with the Suicide Squad thing. I'm just sort of like, oh bloody hell, they're all with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
After that opening scene, I was just like, fucking hell, maybe people are on borrowed time here. There is just going to be something that just wipes them out. And I didn't picture that at all for this. I thought it was still going to be, it's this team coming together. And then, just sort of shot in the face. I was like, okay. Didn't see that coming. Neither did she, apparently. But
I mean,
to me, that just seemed like it was like, we don't know what to do with this one. Just shoot her. I
think they just had one that they are like, we need to kill one of them. We need to set the tone that this is a slightly darker Marvel film comparatively to some of the others.
It's still a 12A, though.
It is, and I don't know why they didn't lean into that. I mean, not as gory as some of the scenes in like Deadpool and Wolverine, but this is the kind of... It hasn't got to be bad in that respect, like, because it's for the most part, it's a film about depression, and it's not a nice subject, and that gives you that scope to go a little bit darker, and like again, I'm not justifying or glorifying anything, but when we see one of Yelena's like in a like a regret shame room, and she lures that young girl out, and that assassin guy comes and shoots
I
her
would
in the head.
love to know what that was about.
But again, we could have delved more into that. We could have saw it actually happening instead of just panning out for the impact of it. But there was even some of the jokes were some of the jokes were really, really funny, but in a awkward, like, I don't want to be sad, so I'm going to make a joke kind of thing. And I think it worked really, really well for the film, but I think they could have got a lot more things in if they'd have just lent more to, not even an R-rated, just 15 would have been enough for it. But it sounds really negative. I really enjoyed it. I really genuinely did. But
I think that this is the first step in an actual direction, rather than just they've made it to make it, or they've just made it because they go, fuck it, we just need to do something.
But this had quite a high caliber of directors and cinematographers and like all the score and everything. Like, they've got a massive catalogue of excellent movie makers behind this, which is an odd one to go, we need the best of the best like for this.
Well, I think that's what they needed, though. I think they needed the ship to be righted again. And I think that this is putting it in the right stream now to get it. Okay, well, now we've got more exciting things coming up, and we need to establish the players that are going to be in that. So not your original crew or whatever, or, you know, if we go, well, let's get Hemsworth back. Okay, he's a solid bet. We don't need to tease people about that or whatever. If he just turns up, everyone will go fucking mad. That's great. It's about, we need, you know, we were sort of like aiming at like the Marvels and things like that, being these, you know, the sort of the new team that's coming together, and everyone's sort of like, ugh, not really. Like, you didn't really sell that very well. But this could be the one where they go, right, this is going to be the new focus. We've done well. We've put the time. We've put the work in. It feels like if this had been like Falcon and Winter Soldier, if it had been this movie, this show, that show, it would have been fucking terrific. Like, getting all these guys together, something like that. Yeah,
I will say, I rewatched Falcon and Winter Soldier a couple of months ago, just in the hype of. I'm quite looking forward to. I've said it numerous times on the podcast. Like, I think this will be the sleeper one that people didn't expect to be very good, and ended up being quite, and that was the case. But on a rewatch of Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's a lot better than I remembered, but it's still not great.
No,
and Walker's okay in it, and you understand his motives for he's high off his he's just taking this fucking serum, he's got all this extra power, his best mate's just been fucking killed. Understandable. Not right, but understandable. Bucky doesn't do anything through the whole show. Even that, do you remember the fight scene after the murder? And it's Falcon, Bucky, and John. And Falcon's talking to him and stuff, and it's like same way he would have talked to like soldiers with PTSD and like counselling them and stuff like that. And then he says, "You need to give me the shield, John." And he's like, "You almost had me." And then they just have a fight because he just doesn't want to give them the shield.
Yeah.
And he's just like you don't want to do this. And Bucky's like, "Yeah, we do." And then they start fighting. And John batters both of them. How the fuck does he batter Bucky? How? Bucky's got like 90 years of experience.
Well, no,
and a
he's
fucking
been asleep for most
bionic arm. Well, yeah, true. But he bested Captain America for all of the Winter Soldier.
That's true.
And there's no way Walker could go toe to toe with original Captain Crunch. And I know they do it in all films. The villain has got to outdo the hero for a majority of it before the hero's victorious. I know it has to happen, but no chance in hell. No fucking chance. But much better than I remember. But like I say, if this was what not necessarily with the Sentry and everything else, but if this was the way that the show was done, I think it would have been way better received. Although it's still got very high reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Weirdly.
What, this?
No, Falcon Winter Soldier.
I mean, again, there wasn't anything bad about it. It just wasn't anything stupendous.
There definitely was. The fucking super
the
soldier fucking
flag
smashers.
Right, yeah, that was all nonsense. There's a very good reason that was not touched on in this at all.
No. I'd forgot all about them until the rewatch. I was like, this is why I hate it.
Yeah.
Awful actors, a lot of them. They were, honestly, there was not a single person in that the Flag Smasher army that was decent.
Yeah.
That's the one that got his head cut off.
That's what happens to good actors. Ah!
But it was fine, and I do like. I've been watching a couple of like variety stuff, interviews with the cast of Thunderbolts, and my god, I can't remember his name. Wyatt Russell. He's very aware that nobody likes his character.
Yeah,
but he's like, every franchise needs a punching bag, and I'm happy to be that punching bag. And like the rest of the cast was like, no, we don't want you to be a punching bag. It's like, well, tell that to the fucking internet. But he seems to just took it on the chin, as it were. But to go from this massively unlikable person in Falcon and Winter Soldier to the end of this, and he is kind of just that, I'll use the word loosely, but lovable dickhead. He's still an absolute arrogant dickhead, but I quite like him. He's all right. I don't like the beret, though. He looks worse than the cap.
Yeah, I'm hoping that just we just want to be very clear that the time has moved forward. They've all got like matching outfits and stuff. So we'll give him a beret, but yes, he can ditch that almost immediately, just as he did the helmet.
Yeah. But this helmet was better than the Falcon and Winter Soldier one, though, because it didn't have the ear cutouts.
I still just do not like it.
I think it was... I was saying I like it, but the one in Falcon and Winter Soldier made him look like the guy from Up.
I do like they're just sort of like, the helmet's stupid. He's like, I thought it was pretty cool. It's like, it didn't serve any functional purpose. He's like, that's what I thought it was pretty sweet.
But even Chris Evans' Captain America looks better without it. It looks better with it.
You don't cover that face.
But it's, I don't know. I like the US agent's costume in this a lot more. Yeah. Obviously, we saw a tease of it in.
Do we also the shield that he's got as well? Do we know where he's got that from?
No. I generally don't know, because it's not it's not made of vibranium or anything.
No. Like Sentry's bent it in half, and between 3 separate super soldiers, they haven't wanted to or been able to straighten that out.
Maybe likes the taco shell.
That was funny when he was like riding it like a horse in like that time. That was really funny.
But it's I say it's not made of vibranium or anything. He's still able to throw it, and it bounces and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Mostly that's not just a super soldier thing.
Maybe it's like a bootleg thing. So
it
it's
can only
like
go so far.
No, it's got like, it's like 30% vibranium or something.
Maybe, yeah.
So it's got the bounce, but it's not got the.
Maybe it's just made of Jello. It's just rubber.
Pretty strong, if that's the case.
That's how he bent it so easily. He's not strong.
But I get the impression that it could just be rebent back again, but he needs 2 people to do it, and everyone just goes no. Like he's like, oh no, please, like can you just? Yeah. I need to hold this end. You hold that end, and we'll just straighten it out. And they're like, nah, you're a bell end. You keep your taco shell shield.
But I know it was after the fact. Like, obviously, he still had his shield at this point. But, when they were looting Taskmaster, taking, like, her ammo and stuff,
like, ooh.
Take a shield.
Nah, he's
because it's already better than hers. Nah, no way. Because hers does the same. She can throw it and bounce it and stuff.
I know, yeah, but I imagine that's just because she's made it to do that, rather than it's some...
Maybe. It might just be a dustbin lid.
Because it's probably like the CIA that supplied it to him if he's doing operations for them. They
probably yeah. Well,
we can't really get vibranium, but this is as
it's
good
Val
as we
that
can
gives
make
him
it.
the suit at the end of the thing, isn't it? So
yeah.
Most likely they've gone, here's a shield. Then
yeah.
Maybe it's just like I say, it's a lesser version of it. But I was disappointed. We didn't get a lot of good Bucky moments. We got a few, not many.
Yeah, I mean, like him showing up in the on the bike and like wiping all those Jeeps out. And I was like, "Yay!" And then he's just like, "No, bang, you're coming with me."
He's like, "Oh shit!"
Like he managed. That means that he managed to subdue all of them on his own. Like they were all like knocked out, presumably, or he went.
This is what I mean.
Battered all of them and then tied them all up and dragged them into a warehouse for pickup. And I love the fact as well that he was just going to drag them all into a court and then just like tell the truth.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? All murderers and liars and criminals? Yeah, working, doing black ops for the CIA. Yeah, sure. Definitely come in here and tell the truth.
That's why he took that entire car out. The Red Guardian, Ghost, Elena, John. That was it, wasn't it?
Yep. There's only 4 of them in there, yeah.
Yeah, he took them all out, but he couldn't take Walker with Falcon.
Well, he hadn't just exploded him in a car, I suppose, had he? And flipped it over. They've all been shaking about a bit.
But, yeah, I did like that scene. I get spoiled in the trailers for that.
I don't remember. This is the thing, because I remember watching the trailer.
I think you only watched the first
ago,
one, didn't you?
And I was just like, yep, looks pretty good, that. Literally everything in this was pretty much unspoiled. And I went in fairly blind, to be fair.
I knew Taskmaster died.
That I didn't. I don't remember it being in any of the posters or anything, but I do remember it being like the original ones.
She was in the first trailer, and then she's not in anything else. Not even on the posters or anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah. I do disagree with Marvel and Disney. So the last 2 or 3 days, so they've changed the poster. So if you go on like IMDb or anything.
Yeah, I saw. I was talking about it on Rotten Tomatoes now.
Yeah.
And that is way too early to be doing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely it is. Because I nearly brought someone round to go, oh, look, I'll show you what it is. And then saw it had changed. And I was like, that's not good.
But on that naming reveal, though, Dan, I don't know if you remember, we had a discussion on a podcast a little while ago. And we mentioned about, do you reckon, hopefully these won't be the Dark Avengers. So Thingy has taken the role of Norman Osborn instead. And we're going to these will be the dudes with the Dark Avengers. And I'm glad that didn't happen. Very glad that didn't happen.
But it's basically that is what's happening. They're like Black Ops.
It is, but it's a much more interesting story, though, isn't it?
Maybe, but they did do the whole "well, we own you now" thing to Valentina. So they're just sort of like, right, you make us. Well, you've now made us Avengers, so you're going to bankroll this whole thing, and you can't really tell us what to do, and we'll kind of. So if that's the way that they want to do it, that she begrudgingly has to now run the Avengers without being outed and immediately thrown in prison, then that would kind of work. But I still think that they wouldn't get the freedom to choose their own ops or whatever. No,
but I think with the exception of Bucky, maybe Elena now, like Bucky would argue the fuck of like whether it's a person needs help or 700 people need our help. We've got to go and do it. Whereas the others will probably be a bit more.
Why?
It's a bit far, and they've got
only
a team of heroes
300
there.
people.
Yeah, and I can see that being the case for a lot of it. But I don't know about Ghost, but most of them, this is what they want. John wanted to be Captain America. Elena wants to take the same kind of path that Natasha took. Red Guardian wants to be on the Wheaties box. It's like it's the thing they all want. Don't necessarily deserve, but it feels like it's.
No, I think that's probably a good way of putting it. They all want to be there for their own particular reasons, but not one of them deserves to wear that logo. Not one of them.
I mean, I'd say Bucky does.
He was still a murderer for like 60 years. Brainwashed or not.
If Natasha was allowed it, then Bucky's allowed it.
Well, she wasn't brainwashed,
and Hawkeye.
though, was she? She was just...
That's even worse.
That's true. But she saved the world.
So did
None
Bucky.
of them have. No, but that's the thing. He was brainwashed, but then he came back hard.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
But, Elena's just sort of like, oh, I'm just sick of this. Like I'm genuinely sick of this. It's so boring just breaking into all these places and killing everybody. Jeez.
What happened to I was going to say what happened to the guinea pig, but the guinea pig's on one of the photos on the front of like when they're on the boat.
Is it?
So, yeah.
Well, at least they got a mascot now, I suppose.
But no, I say it was. I really enjoyed it, and it's not perfect.
It didn't suck by any means at all. No, I completely agree. I did come out of it just thinking that was actually pretty good. Like I'm genuinely glad that I went to see that. Whereas some of the other ones, I'm just sort of like, I paid money to be here. Like
Captain America: Brave New World.
Well, that and Black Widow wasn't great. There's some good bits in it, but it wasn't great. Luckily, that was one.
I watched that on Disney Plus.
Exactly. But like the Marvels, I was just sort of like, oh dear.
That was an awful film, and I'm not saying that as a. I still stand by what I've said in the past, where similar to Thor, and I know we've got Ragnarok, but similar to Thor, he's a better part of a team. He's an ensemble character. And
but I think it's better than that though, because like Ragnarok was great, but it's because they took that whole tone and that whole character in sort of like a slightly different direction than it was originally. But then Love and Thunder, I really don't like.
It's a bad film. That's why.
Like it's just it felt like they just had like unlimited goodwill, and then a lot of it just went to waste. And it's just been a bit meandering. But like I say, this one feels like it's a step towards a bigger thing that's connecting itself rather than just sort of like the odd throwback or the odd comment or whatever. But then it all leads up to, in their sort of cool new Avengers base, with their new little uniforms and their little hats and whatever, an extra-dimensional ship showing up. Callum, why do they have a scanner that's searching for, or can just go, I know where that's from? Why is that a thing? Why have they got a thing that can go, well, a ship's just appeared in orbit.
I suppose it was like 5D. We've gone past 2D, 3D, 4D.
Unless Doctor Strange programmed their satellites or something to go, I can pick you up shit from other dimensions.
Even that, I don't think even Strange could do that.
I don't know, but
it's also like 14 months later, isn't it? So we don't know what's happened on the interim of this.
Oh yeah, maybe there's been a whole bunch of dimensional bullshit that's happened up until that point. Exactly. But do you reckon they're actually going to explore those 14 months, or do you reckon it's just going to be that's your new pickup point now for Well, this is what I was going to bring up. So this post-credit scene was directed by the Russos. And it's exactly the same as what film was it? Age of Ultron, where we got the post-credit scene with Bucky with his arm in the vice. No, because Falcon wasn't in that, was he?
They wouldn't have. No, so it might not have been Ultron. But you remember the post-credit scene, though, don't you?
Because he's been taken down.
No, because Civil War, he's like Cap's already with him. It's got to be before Civil War.
But isn't he? Because then he's captured. He's still
half brainwashed.
Yeah, but he was brainwashed by Zemo, though, wasn't he? And then they trap him, and then that's when they go, "Oh, are you okay now? Are you back with us?"
We'll have to Google it. But you know the scene that I'm thinking of.
It was an excellent one because it was like, what happened to get to this point? Like, yeah, totally.
But that was a scene. No, that's a scene from Civil War. So it's before Civil War.
What was between? It might have been Winter Soldier then. It might be the end of Winter Soldier.
Might have been the end of that. But that scene was directed by the Russos. But it's a scene that they'd already done for the film. So potentially, this is a scene from Doomsday.
Yeah. And if that's the case, they don't seem remotely on alert.
But they'd already said before that, because that's one of the jokes. They're like, obviously, we've got the whole space problem. And then Walker's like, what space problem? This building's huge. How can we run out of space? Like, no,
so,
out of space.
Maybe they're alluding to something else. But then that would suggest that there is another big thing that happens. Or, there's some giant wormhole that's just open and they don't know what to do about it. Or no one can go and close it or something. But then I suppose because like Photon's also crossed into another dimension, hasn't she? So if she manages to find her way back and just be like, yo, there's like other dimensions and shit.
Well, I mean, that could even be how we get the... So
Fantastic
Four come in, X-Men come in, and maybe some of them are already there.
But this is my thing, though, that if if this is something from Doomsday, Doom can't be doing anything at this point because they're just sort of like, whew, bloody hell. Are you all right? Not like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on? And then they pick up a ship. So it could just be like right at the start. You know, they've done all their press stuff and they signed all their certificates or whatever to get their Avenger badges. But then and I love the fact that they've been showing that fucking ship in every pissing trailer for the last like 3 months or whatever, because as soon as that satellite zoomed in, I was just like, I know what that is. And then it just sort of rotates and it's like bang 4. I also love the fact that they're like the Thunderbirds, like they've got the logo just on everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been a thing though. Like it's even like the car and everything else.
I cannot wait for them in their goofy outfits to show
but
up.
I think that's going to be really
Black
fun,
Ops Avengers. Like, what the fuck? You've got a robot arm. What? You can walk through walls. What happened?
He's going to shit a brick. But what pissed me off the most with the post-credit scene, before it even started, and the internet didn't spoil it, Thunderbolts, the movie, spoiled the post-credit scene for me. Because before it starts, in the music credits, it credits the composer of the Fantastic Four theme. Like, well, that wasn't in the film.
I wasn't reading the credits.
I always like, especially when I know there's a credit, like an actual post-credits one. As soon as I know it gets to the music bit, I know we haven't got long left, because they're always one of the last blocks.
I know, yeah, but I never read them. We were talking up until the point where it starts to go, like, no more text, and I was like, right, okay. And then that's when
I was still talking, but it
was
more like...
It sounds like you ruined it for yourself, because no one goes to watch the
No, it shouldn't be in it.
It shouldn't be in it.
They should
Don't credit them for anything, yeah.
They should do the credit scene before it spoils it in the credits.
Nah, rubbish.
Stupid. But, yeah, good post-credit scene, though. But it also confirms that people are coming to 616.
Yeah. So, like you say, Photon may be the X-Men in, if it's not the TVA or something to that degree. Because obviously, the TVA, anything goes. Like, you want 6 from this universe and 2 from this, and we'll bring them all through. Because, like, I, other than, like, Deadpool and Loki, I guess, who the fuck else knows about the TVA?
Maybe. Oh, no, she's dead, so no. I was going to say Thingy from Strange. She was Sorcerer Supreme. Can't remember her name.
Oh, Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
The ancient one.
Well, I can't remember it.
How does she know
she's just called the ancient one, isn't she? No, I'm saying she might know.
Oh, right, yeah.
But she's dead, so it's irrelevant. I mean, surely Thanos they should have already had words with Thanos by now.
But that's the thing. If they go, no, that has to happen. That's just like a point that just has to happen.
Oh, yeah.
In time.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, if he knew about that and he knew, oh, this is pointless. Like, this whole crusade, like, it's exactly the same realization that Loki had when he was just saying, like, oh, do you know who I am? And then as soon as he just started, like, just seeing what this was about, he was like, oh, I'm nothing. Like, I'm this cool big bad or whatever. But actually, no, I'm not. Yeah. Like, this is power. Like, this is unfathomable power. I think that, if Thanos was to see something like that, he'd be like, oh, what? Oh, forget it. Like,
can you imagine?
I'm out.
Thanos just knowing, I know it's happened after the fact, but can you imagine Thanos finding out that Loki is sat at the center of all of what controls everything in the fucking universes? He'd be livid. He tried to stab me. I stabbed his neck.
Yeah, and now he's a time guard. What the fuck? Like, what happened? I'd love to see him going into that room full of exposition in the TVA and just going, oh, bloody hell. Like, okay. I shouldn't have bothered then, should I? All those fucking people that are killed. God's sake.
I wish I hadn't killed my daughter.
Yeah, what a waste. God's sake.
Both of them. Well, I tried to kill one, but...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But, no, so that confirms it. Obviously, Fantastic Four will be in 616. Whether it's a permanent thing, we don't know. Maybe they do just come to help. But like,
I don't think they're coming to help.
Happening.
I think they're looking for help.
I
reckon they're there by accident, or they're going, okay, this Silver Surfer and this Galactus dude, we are not kitted out for this. We're in the 60s. Like, we don't have lasers and satellites.
We're in our 60s.
Like, this ain't going to happen. And they've either looked, or they've tried to, recreate the accident, or something like. I don't think they've gone there intentionally, unless they know that there's other dimensions, and they know that this is one that's full of heroes, and that they can nip in and go, can anyone give us a hand? Because our planet's about to get eaten. Jump over us on our magic rocket ship and then fly back.
Magic rocket ship. You've watched the newest trailer, haven't you?
Yes.
All I'm going to say is, there's the thing with Sue.
What, that she's pregnant?
That she's, yeah. I just wasn't aware if you'd watched it or not, because it's edited out of the other trailers.
Well, it was at the start of this Thunderbolts one anyway, so I wouldn't have had any choice.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could have played...
Too late. It's not as if they hinted at it. Ben just goes, "You're pregnant." I was like, what? I wouldn't have had any preparation for that.
I mean, to be fair, I'd already seen it ahead of this.
I'd seen that one as well, so yeah.
Yeah. But I assume that Galactus is going after Franklin. And do you think that they would kind of abandon... They just get to the point where they go, we can't beat him. Well, and they just abandon their Earth.
Well, that was the thing. I was talking to the guys about this last night. I was like, I reckon that either they're there because they're looking for help, or they're there by accident, or because they couldn't do anything and it was their only means of escape. But I just don't get the sense that they go, fucking hell, this guy's tough. Let's just bail, yeah?
See you later.
They'd stay and die with everybody else, which is why I'm thinking that they're trying to do something and it goes wrong and they end up there, or they were going, we need backup. And I've been theorising that there's other dimensions of blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't affect time because we can just sit back at the same. Let's just get a bunch of people together and come back and whip this guy. But I'm pretty sure, wasn't Galactus also a Celestial in the 616 universe as well? Because I'm pretty sure, isn't he one of the Celestials that's shown in Guardians or something? Like with one of the Infinity Stones?
I genuinely don't know.
I can't remember. I don't think it's Galactus himself, because they didn't have the rights back at that point. But it was someone who looked very fucking similar.
Just visually similar. Because I don't... As far as I'm aware, Fox still had the rights to it at that point in time.
Yeah.
So could have
been
just
a big dude with a big
similar
helmet.
Yeah, just a visually similar entity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better than a cloud. So
that is true. See, this is really interesting actually, because we were talking about the Fantastic. Because again, we're making plans to go and see that when that comes out. Because I'm like, I think that's the one. I think this is the one that's going to get me actually excited to come back and see these again. And we were talking about the Fantastic Four films. He was like, "There's 3 of them, isn't there?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, technically. Like, there's Fantastic Four, there's Silver Surfer, but there's one in the 90s, but that doesn't really count because it was never released." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm sure there was 3." And we were talking for a bit, then we watched the movie, and then we were talking about it again. He's like, "No, there was this big thing because there was they recast one of them as a black guy." And I was like, "Yeah, they made like another one. I totally forgot about it because it was so unbelievably shit. I totally forgot." So I can remember most of what happens in the like the one in the 2000s and then Silver Surfer. I can remember pretty much everything that happens in that, but I forgot the existence of that one from like 10 years ago.
I still stand by.
Because he was like, so of those like 4 or 5, then like which one's the best? I was like, this one that's coming out. Like, I haven't seen it yet, but this one's the best one without a shadow of a doubt. It can't be.
I guarantee, I 100% guarantee, for all the shit that both Fantastic Four films have got, and I think Rise of Silver Surfer is the better of the 2.
Yeah,
and it's fine, and I did enjoy it when I was younger and it came out, but it's not a good film. But I guarantee, even after all of the jokes and the jabs and everything else that the 2 films have got, when the new one comes out, there'll be people, specifically, Silver Surfer's a girl, boo. And it'll be all about the rose-tinted fucking spectacles for how But I may say what it was like in the original ones. We had it with Spider-Man, with Maguire and Tom Holland, Batman. It'll happen again for this. Nobody likes them films. I don't care what anybody says. And we'll have it again in like X amount of time. We'll have another one, and I go, remember Fantastic, like the underdog of the Marvel universe.
Well, actually, there's lots of redeeming qualities to it. No, there's not.
I mean, I think I liked the idea of the Thing, the way they went about it for that film.
Like, well, no, again, what they're doing in this new one, that's the Thing. That's right. He's a lovely guy. He's not a broody, murdering soldier. Jeez.
But the worst bit about that is a lot of the stuff that they showed, like on the cams and stuff, you'd never get to see. So all the stuff that's actually not good, but looked entertaining, you don't get to see any of that.
I know, but do you want to watch the Thing? It's just, they've already shown in this sort of like, he's making dinner, he's lifting up cars to entertain kids, whereas that one's like throwing dudes through trees in a forest. Like,
yeah,
that's
but I'd
not
rather
the thing
see
I want
that.
to see.
If that's the film I'm watching, I want to watch that.
No, because you don't watch that. You watch Doom do that.
But he doesn't do anything.
Oh, God. What a
Someone's
waste
got to do something.
Everybody's time that was. Good Lord. I'm really hoping that everyone who was involved in that got paid. Like, I'm so glad that they've all got fucking careers off the back of it.
Well, Teller and the director got into fist fights.
It was Josh Trank, wasn't it? But I think there was another director that came in afterwards to sort of like try and patch it all together, which is why it's a real mishmash. But like every person in it, they've all gone on to do much better things, which I'm very glad to see.
I think they would have done for the most part. Who played Sue?
I want to say it's.
I generally can't remember her name.
I know I've seen her in other things since then, though. Like much better things. I can't remember her name either.
Because was it true? I ask, was it true, as if you were on set with them, but a lot of the cast never actually spoke to like they never actually had any scenes together.
Kate Mara.
Does sound familiar.
Kate Mara, you absolutely know her. She was in The Martian. She was very good in The Martian. She was in Iron Man 2, apparently.
Is she the reporter?
I don't know. Brokeback Mountain. She's in American Horror Story as well.
I've seen it because I've seen all of them. Because they all seem like good enough actors and whatnot. It's just the film's not good.
No, it's a terrible film.
But it's the problem that's the fault of your Batman Begins and stuff. And then they go, people enjoy Batman Begins, so we need to make stuff dark and gritty. So we're going to do it with Spider-Man. We're going to do it with Fantastic Four. Yep. But these are properties that don't lend themselves well to dark and gritty. No. Like Fantastic Four
supposed to be
is
fun and uplifting. Hence why you make everyone really happy and you set it in the 60s.
Yeah.
Which is what they seem to be doing.
But I'll be honest, I think had stuff like Fantastic been better well received, I don't think this would be the direction that Disney would be taking.
I cannot believe that there was any version of that script that would have kept the rights at Fox.
I mean, they just had to release it, didn't they? They just had to make it.
Well, that's the thing. They weren't interested in making it the best version it could be. They were only interested in pumping something out so they could not have to revert the rights back to Marvel, where they would have to do something good with it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would Disney win, and they just went, "Oh, fucking buy the lot of you then. We'll buy the farm."
Job done. But I think it would have been more set in the scope of, like how Thor, like when we get to go to Asgard, it's a different place. That's what it would be with Fantastic Four. It'd just be a different. But I don't think it would be like this, set in the 60s like this is. And this is the way to go. But
this is, I agree with. And I think that either, regardless of however that film ends, or maybe they go, because this is first step, so I assume that now that they've just said, here they are in this main universe, this is just going to be a one and done. So, they're all happy and cheery and they're stopping bank robbers and saving kittens out of trees or whatever. But they're not really dealing with that level of threat. And it all goes awry and then they end up sort of covered in dust and shit, end up in 616 and they go, you just had a guy that came to eat the earth. Bloody hell, we get rid of guys like that all the time. What were you doing?
We've got 2 Avengers teams. Which one do you want?
Yeah, I mean, geez. We'll send one guy with you and he will take him out. No problem. But that's the thing, like, them coming into this world, which has already seen, like, a million alien invasions and, gods and demons and magic and half the universe's population disappearing.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to open that cockpit door and just be like, should we go back to our universe that was exploding and eating, like, being eaten by this? Because this is worse. Like, this is way worse.
Well, wait till the X-Men get there. Because...
Oh, yeah. They'll cheer everybody up. We've been impressed.
Well, I was going to... Like, while you were talking, that's what I was thinking of, was... How are they going to do this? Because the X-Men are obviously going to end up in 616. But the whole point of it is it's oppression and obviously stigmatism and everything else. But everyone fucking loves the Avengers. Everybody fucking loves Spider-Man. But then the X-Men will show up and just go, boo! Fucking mutants. It's like, that's not going to happen.
What do you mean you can control magnets? Put him in prison. But you could turn into a giant Hulk monster. Yeah! I've got your fucking toys on my shelf at home.
Well, it's not. I don't know how they're going to do it, and I know they kind of, because even in the Spider-Man animated cartoon, the '90s one, like when I think it's Professor X, he goes to the X-Men for help, and then Professor X is I forgot what he calls. He calls him a mutate because he wasn't born that way. But it's just like it's when he starts turning into like the big man spider. And but he's like, he uses the phrase like, I don't want to end up like you mutant freaks, and then just zips out the window. Like, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Everyone hates the X-Men.
Yeah, but it's just like really out of place. Even when I was younger, I remember it being like, that's weird. Because that's not Spider-Man. Like, but that's what it's going to be for the people in New York. They'll be all dead happy because Hulk's like smart Hulk just walking around taking selfies with people. But then Gambit shows up and just like, oh, get away. Gross.
But maybe that's the enticing thing to get them through, though, because they've been in their own version of the X, like their own little universe, and they're like, oh god, everyone hates us over here because we're the only super things, and everyone resents the fact that we are, and they fucking hate us. And then they end up going to New York or whatever, and they're like, oh, you can shoot lasers out your eyes. That's pretty cool, yeah. And they're like, should we just stay here forever? Like, people dig us. Like, we're just one of the crew, you know. I'd rather stay here with all the galactic universe-ending problems than have to go back and just have to live in secret or whatever because, you know, everybody secretly wants to kill us or sterilize us or do whatever.
But then they have to live with the knowledge of the X-Men have left their universe, and
true,
now
but the only people
Sabretooth and everyone else is left there murdering all the civilians.
Well, but it doesn't matter. They go, well, you know, they didn't want us. They didn't want our help, so fuck them.
Yeah, but that was the whole point of the X-Men, though, wasn't it? Was even though they might not want it, they deserve our help.
But that's because they also didn't have a way out. If they said, should we just take you all with us and you can live here and you'll not only be respected as people, you'd actually be put on a pedestal, and more often than not, we'll probably call you up to help out with like real, actual shitty problems that we've got to deal with like, you know, terrorist organisations. And they go, yeah. I mean, yeah, we'd stand up for humanity or whatever, but we'll actually stand up for a humanity that gives a shit about us. How about that?
It just doesn't seem a very X-Men thing to do.
I think if they got a get out of jail free card and be like, look, we can take all the mutants, no more persecution for you. You can come with us and we'll look after you and you'll be heroes. And you get your own fucking place. You'll be bankrolled and everything. I reckon there's not one of them that wouldn't go for that. You go, no, I want to stay here and be oppressed.
But why didn't Professor X never use, like, because we know that they can like reverse engineer Cerebro because they've done it multiple times. Well, why didn't they ever do that? Professor X should just go, you don't hate mutants, and then nobody hates mutants.
Because then that's him imparting his power on everyone.
Yeah, but that'd be way easier.
It would be, but then you'd be a massive hypocrite, wouldn't you? Because you're trying to convince the world that, you know, mutants aren't dangerous, then you change everybody's brains. Well, that means that if that goes a bit wrong, you've killed everybody, maybe.
I suppose. I mean, that's what's hinted at in Logan, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, no, it was a seizure that killed him.
But that's what I mean. He did it because he couldn't control it.
Yeah. But if they go, well, how about you come over to this universe where we've got people that are significantly smarter than you guys, and they'll sort that out. Yeah, no problem.
But he's just like, I don't think so.
Yeah, we need to stay here and sort all these world's problems out. I'll tell you what. How about you take Galactus from the Fantastic Four universe? You drop him off at your universe. He can eat the Earth, get rid of all of them, and then they could stay all smiley and happy. You come over here, you could be all smiley and happy. Everybody wins.
Doesn't win it. I don't want to see that though. I want to see Hulk. I want to see Banner. Maybe not Tony Stark now, but Beast and that. Like get all the smart guys that we've got, and just have them all riffing together.
But to do what though? Like Tony invented time travel.
Well, he was just sat at home.
We've seen a version of Reed that's created like teleportation. What else could they accomplish? What problem have they got to outthink at this point?
Racism.
Nah, it's never going away.
It's
never going away. That
nobody's
smart enough. That's why you get a giant man in a helmet to come in and eat the planet. You get right. The racism's too much now. Get rid of them all. Start again.
Maybe they can finally understand tariffs.
Oh, don't.
I don't want to get all political or anything, but I do want to just very quickly mention because it was very funny. Did you see the news the other day that Trump's putting tariffs on movies that aren't made in America?
Christ, does he think this is just this like infinite get out of jail free card that's going to improve his economy? It's just going to fuck people into the ground, but never mind, eh?
Anyway, rounding up though, Dan, I really enjoy Thunderbolts.
Yep, it was
a
great one.
Enjoy Thunderbolts.
Yep,
and
solid
you'll also enjoy if you go see it. I'm going to watch it again, I think.
I probably won't.
I'll probably wait for it to come on Disney Plus. But
for sure. I mean, I will watch it again. Absolutely, I will.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not a second trip to the
time,
cinema.
hopefully.
Now. I don't think I've ever been to the cinema to watch something twice before in my life. So this is going to bring back
before I was a father, I did it many a time. But now that money is a thing that I have to watch,
I'll stream it. I'll just have to wait until it's out.
I went to Scott Pilgrim twice.
I never saw that in the cinema.
I did. I was well excited for it.
I'll tell you what, though. Tales of the Underworld, I think, is now on Disney Plus as well, which is a new Star Wars animated thing in the vein of Tales of the Jedi. And it's, again, when I was on Rotten Tomatoes today, that's currently got 100%.
I was annoyed because it was the Fortnite event last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the islands you could go to was the Tale of the Underworld party, and you could watch the first 2 or 3 episodes in Fortnite before they went on Disney Plus.
That's such a good idea.
And I was like, well, I forgot what we did it for before. There was something else that they did it for. And it was really fun. Just the idea, like all these people are there and because you get given special emotes for things, so you can sit down and eat popcorn and whatnot when it's all playing on the screen. And I completely forgot about it. And then I was like, it's on Disney Plus now, and it's pointless.
Yeah. Well, I do intend
really
to watch that,
though.
but there's 3 episodes of Andor. I'm 1.5 into this new set of 3. So I do want to go and watch the remaining 1.5.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is supposed to be the end, if there's supposed to be something more next week. You're probably better at answering that than me.
I think, did we start with 2 or 3?
3. It was 3, then 3, then 3 again. So if this is a 9, if this is a 9 episode, unless they're doing 3, then 3, then
12.
3, and then 1, and that's your 10, and that's your cliffhanger.
Well, I thought it was going to be 8, so...
Well, you're already wrong.
I was already wrong. So it's either going to be, this is the last one, or we're going to have another one.
Or next Wednesday he's going to roll around and go, there's 3 more. And then there's another 3, and like, oh my God, this is just not stopping.
It's just 3 a week, every week, for a year.
I'm telling you now, though, I don't know if you would agree with this, but these last set of 3, they're already the best so far.
So this week's 3?
Yes.
Because I am...
But...
1 behind. So I've got 4 to...
Everything that's happened, other than sort of I don't know how that's going to possibly come back, but all the weird kid marriage stuff that's happened at the start. Get rid of all that. But all the other stuff that's happened, all of that is slowly but surely building. Even the stuff with Cyril. Like, all of that is now starting to come to a head where I'm just like...
That's the key word, though, Dan.
But I'm like, I think this is paying off. I think that this all was leading somewhere. Like, it wasn't just all 50 different stories that are all... Like, this actually... All of that mattered to get to this point.
Right.
Apart from the weird disco dance thing. Like, skip all of that, right? You can... None of that's had any impact on this. Again, you want to do a Mon Mothma thing? Cool. Do it. Do the wedding and, how she hates it and she wants to be in the rebellion, but she can't.
Call that the show, though.
But it doesn't need to be in Andor.
On Mothma Diaries.
Yeah, but this is very much flipped round to it is about Andor and it's pushing in the right direction. So I'm very excited for this last one or two.
I found it a trudge. That's the right word.
The first three, yeah, I completely agree. I'm just sort of like I could see where this is going, but you're falling short because like even the Luthen stuff, like because he was an incredibly interesting character, he seemed to be going off the rails a little bit. And then have you seen everything up until the 3 that dropped today?
No, I'm one behind.
Okay, well then there's still a little bit more to go in that last one, which is again really good. So it seems that the second half of this whole season is you've got to trudge your way through the first, but this is it's coming from this. Like everything does seem to be coming back around on itself. So whilst the first 3 may have been sort of a bit, what's all this about? By the end of this, if you were to go back and watch it all, I reckon it would tie into itself a lot better when you know where it's leading. That's my theory, and that's a game theory.
It's it's annoying because I'm bored. Every episode bores the fuck out of me, but I'm still interested. And it's not like I've had plenty of shows before where it's gone, nah, I can't be arsed anymore. I'm not watching this. But I'm interested and I like it. Yeah. But I'm sat there and I'm just like, how much left? It's only been 6 minutes. Like, I thought it was tomorrow. But it's just been more, definitely more the second season. Very little Andor. Very little. And if that pays off, that's fine. I'll take I'll optimistically take your word on that. But yeah, it's just some of the stuff like I don't give a fuck about him. Cyril's mom meeting his fucking. It's just nah. But if you say that it builds up to something, I'm going to hold you to it, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's. I swear to God, if he gets to the end of this, and then fucking Luke Skywalker turns up in it, I'll be like, oh, get to fuck! Why are you here?
Well, at this point, he's still at the farm, isn't he?
Well, no. At the point where it's because it's sort of like you say, it's like time skipping, but you're building up.
Oh yeah, we're a year ahead, aren't we?
The battle before the battle of Yavin, which is New Hope, isn't it? Just before Rogue One, at least. So it's not as if he's like a kid in Obi-Wan. Like he's around, but he's probably not. Like he's not going to be Mando Luke showing up. But could you have a Cal? Could you have a K Vess? Could you have something like that from any other media potentially? It's just that
I'd like to see some Cal.
I don't want them to because this isn't the time to do it. We've had so little of this guy. I now don't want someone to come up and go, and then I'm here, and then it just completely takes away from everything.
It doesn't make sense for like someone like Cal because we go through all of this and then into Rogue One where we've got no Force sensitive people. But then if Cal shows up, why wouldn't he be in Rogue One?
Yeah, because he's off doing other stuff, isn't he? Like, he's not with the rebellion necessarily, is he? He's his own agent.
He's a cowboy, effectively.
He's just against the Empire.
Against the Empire, yeah.
Necessarily, I'm going to come to all the briefings and the meetings and, I'll jump in a ship and come along with you. Like, he's not a pilot, is he?
But no. But it would make more sense, and again, we're not going to see him, but it would make more sense for somebody like Mando. I don't know, Mando's after the fact, but
he's off doing Fantastic Four stuff now. He's not back.
No, but I mean, like the Mando's set years and years and years after Andor is, but that kind of character where it's a big name draw, but it's not going to take too much away from Andor and the rest of the people in it. But I can't think of anybody of that level that could. I suppose Boba Fett would be knocking about, but he'd be working for the Empire.
He would be. I mean, the key one is probably Vader, because obviously he is very much.
Yeah, but again, as soon as we see him,
shit. But we can't have him because there's no way because they haven't established him as a part of this storyline. If he just shows up, it is just to
kill someone.
It's to boost the show. It's him showing up and just going, right, well, you're all terrible, so I'm going to kill you all. Like you're all shit at this, so I'm just going to kill you all.
Well, that takes away the scene in Rogue One, where obviously
I don't.
Down the corridor.
That is some of the best Vader stuff there's ever. I can't think of anything that's more terrifying than that whole scene. It is just fantastic.
I like the scene in Fallen. What's the first Jedi game with Cal? I want to say Fallen Order, but it's not, is it? Or is it?
Yes, Jedi Survivor is the second one.
Yeah.
Because it's the Order is falling at the start of it.
Yeah. Like, when the boss battle is Vader. That's pretty terrifying.
I mean, that's great. I mean, to be fair, and also kind of in Rebels when he's just... But you're also at no point...
He's so good in Rebels.
But he's got plot armor, though, because you know that... Well, he can come up against a Jedi, he can come up against Kanan and Cal and whoever. But no, of course you're not going to be able to beat him. No, you're not going to see him get killed or whatever. But, you know that they can probably, to some degree, they can hold their own a little bit. If he shows up in something like this, it is the same as Rogue One, where there isn't anyone on that ship that's a threat. No one. He could just tear through every single one of them without any bother whatsoever. And they did it so perfectly in Rogue One. You're basically just trying to replicate that same impact in this, and I just don't think it would be as impactful given the fact we've seen it so well done in Rogue One already.
Best scene ever.
I genuinely hope that nothing like that does happen, but to say that there's some little bit of the payoff or something, fucking Darth Maul rocks up and just starts slicing people up. I'd be like, didn't see that coming. Perfect.
I don't want that. No. I reckon at most we'll see Palpatine in a hologram or oh my god, I can't remember his name.
Everyone keeps on banging on about him, so
he's been mentioned enough, and even like Tarkin or somebody someone we know from the films that could just be
Tarkin's been mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, like in a hologram or just sort of like vaguely giving instructions.
Especially for someone like
Mendelsohn.
But it'll be less obvious. Obviously, it's definitely
maybe you get if you're very lucky, maybe a Mads Mikkelsen.
Potential,
as doing his
from Solo.
What? No, he's so his dad.
I'm joking.
He wasn't in Solo, was he?
No.
No, that's fucking Paul Bettany you're thinking of.
No, I was thinking of thingy from at the start of Rogue One. When he's running, like when they're coming and he's on the grass bits.
Yeah.
I said the wrong film. That was
right. But like him, like starting to work on the plans for the Death Star or something like that.
Yeah. Got to be something related to that, though, because that's the whole point of Rogue One, isn't it? That's
exactly.
what this is all leading up to.
Well, theoretically, but I don't know. Maybe it's just leading up to the biggest disco of all time. I just don't know at this point.
It's just like the party prom in the park or whatever it is they do in London, like Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd like Rogue One as much if it was the same feeling as Andor?
No,
because I think they're two very different things.
I agree. I think that the sort of the weird grittiness and like the guerrilla warfare thing from the first season of Andor is what really got me hooked on it. Like him now becoming sort of like a rebel. They just haven't done enough with him just yet.
Yeah.
And if this is they go right, this we'll get to the end of the last episode of this season. It's the start of Rogue One. I would be disappointed because then it's just sort of like you started so strong and then you sort of stumbled and then you've just looked into a great film that's clearly when they made that, they didn't expect. I'd like to think that they didn't expect that all of this was in the works as well, because that would have been like a decade.
Yeah, they hadn't got a clue. They had no idea there was going to be an Andor TV show.
No.
Not a Scooby. And I'll be honest,
I do want to watch it.
Yes, we've gone on long enough, and my dog is pattering around like an absolute melon. So, if you want to see more, you can go to podcastfirstplay.com. It's all going along at the bottom of the screen. Dan, thank you for Thunderbolting with me.
Thank you.
And make sure you enjoy Andor, and make sure you enjoy Thunderbolts if you go and see it at the cinemas.
Indeed.
Bye!